What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright. I'm joined by Mr. William Monroe. Got another mini mock draft here for you. Will, what are we doing?
Today we have a 14-team PPR mock draft. Steve, you'll be drafting out of the 5th spot, and I will be drafting out of the 8th spot.
Awesome. Ready to get started?
Let's get it.
Okay, so we've started the draft. We have Saquon Barkley, CMC, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara going off the board first, which is that's interesting. I was expecting to need to make my case for Clyde here over like a Cook or anyone else, but I mean, Zeke's here. I'm not going to pass up Zeke. Seems like a slam dunk for me, and I'm not even going to discuss it very much. He's my 3rd running back off the board, so getting him here is fantastic. So we have Zeke, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas. Picks to you.
Yeah, this position I didn't want to be in. Those like top 6, 7, considering Henry, really feel like safer options. And then from here, you have Clyde, as you mentioned, but 14 teams, I almost want to be a little bit safer because of, in these first couple rounds, man, like, the team is really going to be relying on those first few picks. Kenyon Drake's here, who also I feel like is a little more unsafe, maybe. So I think I may lean wide receiver here. You got Devontae Adams available, Chubb's on the board, Mixon, Jacobs, Clyde. I don't know. I don't know that I could pass up a running back in the first round here. I just think it dries up super quick. So for me, Clyde is in consideration, but with the floor that I just, we haven't seen it in the NFL yet. I don't know in a 14-team league that I can take him as high. So I think I would look to either Nick Chubb or Kenyon Drake. Bank on what we saw out of Drake last year. He finally got to be the guy for the first time ever. Even in Miami, he was never like the guy in a super high volume offense. I'm going to bank on Drake here. I know that the Clyde train is rolling and everyone is hopping on. I don't know that I could do it this early in a 14-team league here. I want a little more safety. So we're going to go with Kenyon Drake. After him goes Devontae Adams, Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, Patrick Mahomes, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, and Aaron Jones. So a lot of guys off the board here. As we see, only Patrick Mahomes is off the board at the quarterback position. No tight ends off the board. So tight end would be in consideration here for me, but there's still one wide receiver in that tier 1. As I think I talked about yesterday. And Chris Godwin, pretty easy pick for me here. Don't really have to talk too much about it. Only really, that tier 3-ish, I guess, 3 or 4 wide running backs left that are not going to take over what I would consider a tier 1 wide receiver in Godwin. So locking in, Godwin goes. Travis Kelce, Todd Gurley, to you.
Okay, so running backs we have on the board: Leonard Fournette, James Conner, David Johnson, Chris Carson, Lev Bell. At the wide receiver position, Kenny Golladay, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Juju, OBJ. So you can really see in the running back position how things dried up quickly, just adding the extra 2 teams. This is tough. In our mock yesterday, I grabbed Chris Carson in the 3rd round, like the middle of the 3rd round, and now I am debating him here in the 210. So that's a tough spot to be in. I'll do something a little bit different here, and I will go ahead and add Leonard Fournette as a safer kind of volume play. I'm hoping the touchdowns come a little heavier this year to offset his somewhat reduction in receiving volume. I know a lot of people are expecting a heavy reduction due to Chris Thompson being there, but the guy's bound to get hurt, so I don't think that's fully going to come to fruition. So I'm going to lock him in here as a safer running back too. We'll see what gets back to me. I wouldn't mind adding a tight end either. I just don't think, if Kittle got back to me, it'd be awesome. It's not going to happen, though. And I don't think I can draft Mark Andrews yet. So we'll see what happens. We had Lamar Jackson, James Conner, Kenny Golladay, Mike Evans go off to round out the 2nd. There's George Kittle in the 3-1, Adam Thielen, Chris Carson, and Juju. I am back on the board. Running backs: David Johnson, Lev Bell, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram. At wide receiver, OBJ, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp. A tough spot. I'm not going to go with a running back just because I'm going to have to wait so long for a wide receiver. I do want to get somebody in the upper echelons here. And it's really between the top 4 people being OBJ, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, and Amari Cooper for me. It's a tough decision. I'm kind of leaning Allen Robinson. I don't draft him too often, but he's got a lot of upside. His safety is decent. He did have some not great games last year that a lot of people seem to forget about, but I think Foles is going to start there, and I think Foles is going to help him out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Allen Robinson, get my first wide receiver, then we'll see what gets back to me. But it's such a long wait. I don't want to wait that long to grab my first wide receiver. We have Melvin Gordon and Lev Bell go off the board before you.
Yeah, this is tough. I almost don't want to take the same approach that I took yesterday of going running back first and then loading up on wide receiver tight ends. But I think OBJ and DJ Moore are kind of a cut above the running backs left. You got David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery. So I don't know what the running back's going to look like here, but I don't know that I can pass up on a OBJ or a DJ Moore over one of those backs. So I think going to see what the running back looks like here in the 4th round and lock in a DJ Moore to pair with Godwin for the receiving core here. So we'll see what happens. We're going to lock in DJ Moore. David Johnson goes, Odell Beckham, Mark Cooper, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, Mark Ingram, T.Y. Hilton. So gamble paid off a bit. Only 4 running backs go over a 14 or 12 player pool there. So you've still got the likes of Devin Singletary, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt on the board. That was kind of the tier that I was expecting to still be there. It's tough out of those 3. I feel like I've been a couple times where I've come to the decision here where it seems like, while Singletary and Mostert have the better chance than Hunt of being a RB1 on their team, Hunt is almost guaranteed to not be, but he almost has like the higher floor out of them all. So for me, I think it's either Hunt or Mostert, especially here in a 14-team league. And I think I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. I like the volume that I'm expecting him to get in the passing game. And I think he's going to get enough carries in the running game to give me a solid floor and then kind of take upside shots at the position later in the draft. So we'll go Kareem Hunt. After him goes DK Metcalf, Devin Singletary to you.
Yeah, it sucks because Kareem Hunt is someone I was definitely looking at. So we got Mostert, Swift, Akers, and Ronald Jones on the board. At wide receiver, DJ Chark, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Lockett. And boy, it's not a fun spot to be in. Mostert is screaming out to me as a solid running back to add here. Give me 3 of my first 4. Establishes a lot of safety in a deep league like this, but the wide receivers on the board are great. Chark, McLaurin, Lockett. I mean, I love all those guys, and none of them are going to get back to me.
That was my difficulty in the 3rd round, man. There's that tier above still available.
Yeah, and I feel like I could grab one of them there, and then maybe like a Geis will get back to me. Jordan Howard is so early for him, but I could do something like that. So, we'll play the game. We'll see what happens. DJ Chark is the one I got a cut above everyone else, although I really do like Lockett. But I'm going to go ahead and lock in Chark here, see what gets back to me. Got a lot of flexibility. I'm two running backs, 2 wide receivers, so I kind of do whatever I need. If Ertz gets back to me, that's going to make this an even tougher decision. So we'll see here. I'll lock him in. There he goes. Ertz goes off the board right after. Keenan Allen, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray go off the board. DeAndre Swift to start the 5th, Tyler Lockett, Raheem Mostert, and Terry McLaurin. Mostert almost got back to me, man. That would have been nice. But
yeah, that would have been wild.
And Sutton got back to me as well. I could have grabbed a Mostert and then waited and got a Sutton apparently. But what can you do? I will go ahead and strike at the running back position. And for me, it's between Ronald Jones and Darius Geis. I'm really not sure which one I like more. I'm not scared off by the shady news in Tampa. So Ronald Jones is solid, but it still feels gross draft again. We're like, Geis, has the higher upside to me, I think, because he's the better overall running back. But there is no floor. Like the floor is injury in the preseason, and you've lost your running back. So I think I am going to go ahead. I don't think I've drafted Geis a ton here and there, but I'm going to go ahead and draft him. I do believe in him a little bit more this year. I think the injury towards the end of the year last year is going to help him by giving more time for his ACL to heal up, where the injury he had at the end of the year is not the most serious thing in the world. So I think he is, for the first time, coming in like actually 100%. That gives me some level of confidence in him. So we're going to lock him in there. We had Darren Waller and AJ Green go off the board before you.
All right, so it's interesting because there's a couple of guys that I like at the running back position, especially the way the team is built and the league is set up. Looking at the quarterbacks and the tight ends, their tight end position, there's not really anything that I love at mid-tier. I'm not, in love with. If I don't get one of those top 4, I'm not huge on Waller either. I'm going to wait. I'm not going with one of those middle guys until this draft will be a little sooner, but, not till later into the draft. Quarterback, Prescott and Watson are interesting. I don't think, I can go them at this position based on the running back wide receivers available, but it's interesting to still see them available. I think they do have some good value at this point. Wide receivers, we got Sutton, Diggs, Hollywood Brown. I feel like there would be a really good pairing on this team with Godwin, DJ Moore. But I feel like, waiting to get my second running back in 4th, I need to get another running back to just give myself another lottery ticket for that RB2. And I didn't think Akers would still be there, so that's interesting. He does, is an option for me here. But I think in this deeper league where you're really looking to, you want to have some safety early on, and then from there you want to have those league winners, I think it's going to be J.K. Dobbins for me. I know you and I are both pretty high on him, especially in Dynasty, but I do think that if he does become, take over and become the RB1 on the team, it won't be till the second half of the year, or injury, sickness, kicks in and forces him into it. But if he, even then, even before that, we look at that team and the running back too, Gus Edwards was usable. He was a flex option throughout the year just because of that, that offense destroying people and their defense being very good. So they were, pulling Mark Ingram, resting him in the second half, and you had Gus Edwards run the ball a lot. And I can't see how J.K. Dobbins' talent doesn't beat out a Gus Edwards or the receiving back that they have there as well. So I think Dobbins makes a lot of sense. I think he's at the very least a flex option, and I have him and Hunt, who are both decent flex options, which would be decent trade bait to pair with something else to get RB2 if needed. But, even if not, having those 3 running backs, all together would be a nice pairing with those 2 receivers to start. So we're going to go Dobbins here. After him goes Sutton, Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, Dak Prescott, Stephon Diggs, and Hollywood Brown to round out the draft. Steve, what do you think of your team?
Yeah, so in the first round, I went with Zeke, and then Leonard Fournette, Allen Robinson, DJ Chark, and Darius Geis. Overall, I like the team. It's pretty well balanced. I'd probably be looking at wide receiver next, maybe a tight end if somebody fell to me. Or maybe a QB if someone else fell to me. But there's a lot of flexibility there. There's something about having Leonard Fournette on my roster that just feels gross to me.
It's just unnerving.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like the dynasty mindset flowing into things. Like, he's terrible for dynasty.
He should be good this year, right?
But this year, he's fine. After. Exactly, and I own him in dynasty, so I know all too well the fear that goes into that, and maybe that's influencing it. But overall, from a redraft perspective, I like this team. Don't mind the gamble on Darius Geis, so I'm pretty happy with this start. How about you? What do you think of your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's 14 team leagues. I feel like I never am thrilled with the team, but I always have to kind of just reprogram myself to view it from that lens that no one's team is going to be loaded with those 2 extra teams. Really, just take away a lot of the upper depth. There's less teams that have those top tier guys. So running backs, Kenyon Drake, Kareem Hunt, J.K. Dobbins, wide receiver, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore. Not really in love with the running back core. I think it's good, especially for this format. I'd like Kenyon Drake as the RB1. I think at the very least this year he will be an RB1. He's going to get so much volume. And then both Hunt and Dobbins are a good pairing where Hunt's, just got a high floor, maybe not a crazy high ceiling because of Chubb with him there, but I do think he's going to get a lot of receiving work. Where Dobbins is the opposite. I do think, he'll get some cleanup work to start and be flexible. And then from there, if he breaks out and can become a wide receiver or running back too, then Hunt is a great guy to have in the flex position. And then Godwin and DJ Moore, I think, are both, great wide receiver ones, probably both of them. DJ Moore's got in that conversation, but to have both of them really helps alleviate the maybe slight uncertainty of the RB2.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's mock draft. Tune in tomorrow for another mini mock here. In the meantime, trust your board.